A new study from the Smithsonian Science Education Center and Gallup found that U.S. educators lack the support and training in science and sustainability compared to other nations around the world. And here to help us understand the challenges U.S. teachers face is Dr. Carol O'Donnell, Executive Director at Smithsonian Science Education Center. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure, of course. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Global Goals Project through the Smithsonian?
So as you noted, in this survey that we conducted, we found that teachers wanted instructional resources to teach about sustainable development and professional development. And 5 of the states across the country are now integrating sustainable development or climate change into their curricular resources. So what we're trying to do is, through the Smithsonian Science for Global Goals project, we've developed free community research guides for youth in which teachers work with their students to better understand some of these complex socio-scientific topics. So some of the topics range from biodiversity, biotechnology, clean energy, climate action is one of our new guides that is coming up. During the pandemic, COVID-19, vaccines, food and food security, mosquito-borne diseases. So these topics are important to young people, and they're also very much aligned with this idea of STEM education for sustainable development, helping kids in each of these guides discover the topic locally, understand the topic by using their community as their laboratory, and then developing their own student-driven actions to make a difference in their community.
Sure. So how have you designed those global guides for youth?
So first we started with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So these are a set of goals that were developed by the UN in 2015, but the idea is that could you extract from these 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals the science that's important to young people and then integrate social science into it? So that's what we did. We started with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We extracted these complex topics, like I mentioned, biodiversity, clean energy, clean water. And we then went out and interviewed scientists from all over the world, including at the Smithsonian Institution's own research centers, to better understand the topic. And then we curated that content in a way that's meaningful for students ages 11 to 18. It's very student-driven. Students are the ones who are engaging in the topic, collecting the data, and the implementation of it looks different no matter where you are in the world.
I see. Interesting. You mentioned some of the topics. How did you come up with these topics that they would be in the guides?
Yes. So by interviewing these experts in each of these areas that align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, we found out which topics, of course, what was the current research that was being done in that area that is aligned with this idea of sustainable development. In other words, if we were studying, for example, environmental justice, which is one of our guide topics, what was happening in the area of environmental science that was allowing students to recognize that decisions they make about their environment today can actually impact the future. So what we basically did was interview these multitudes of scientists from not only the Smithsonian but abroad, and curated that content to make certain that it was meaningful and approach it in a very transdisciplinary way. So it wasn't just about the science, it was also about the history of that topic, so the history of environmental justice, or it was also about the social science of the topic, so combining those things together.
How can people get involved?
So first of all of the guides are available for free from the Smithsonian, and yet it's been distributed in 88 countries with 4.6 million students, and 46,000 educators have gone through professional development. So I would say, first of all, no matter what community you live in, you have access to those guides for free. They're designed for youth, but educators help to facilitate them. A good example is what we're doing here in the DMV. So we're working together with WUSA 9, identifying educators across the region who are interested in environmental science. We then provide those guides to those teachers for free, and we also provide professional development to them. So I would just say reaching out to the Smithsonian is the best way to do this, and we also make certain that they have the support, the expertise, and the time that they need to be able to educate students on these topics.
Excellent. All right. Well, Dr. O'Donnell, thank you so much for sharing. We hope people do reach out to the Smithsonian. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Sure. To hear more about the Smithsonian Science Education Center and how WUSA 9 is working with the Smithsonian to support students and their teachers throughout the DMV, just go to WUSA9.com/EcoChallenge. You can also just scan the QR code on your screen.